It's Calgary's podcast on the Canada's Podcast Network.
Today's guest is Mike Gettis, co-founder and CEO of Endy. Thanks for joining us today, Mike.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me.
Okay, super, Mike. So tell me just a little bit, first of all, about Endy and the concept and where the concept came from.
Sure. I had worked a little bit over in Europe for a while, and they were a bit ahead of the game in terms of bedding compared to North America with regards to memory foam and foam-based beds. So definitely, I mean, we've all seen the Tempur-Pedic commercials since we were younger and in the 90s, and I think what I saw is this great opportunity to look at a mattress market, at the market as a whole. I with my co-founder and partner Rajan Rupral, he's also from Calgary. He had the experience working at Groupon and had some e-commerce experience, and we came together to sell mattresses on the internet. And we saw one of the things that we saw as a really great trend right around when we started Endy was this trend towards direct-to-consumer retail. And we saw this as a really great opportunity because we had sort of a bit of a hurricane of forces of the fact that beds, people were moving more towards foam-based mattresses, the ability to compress and roll them. More and more manufacturers had the technology to compress and roll. Plus, we had D2C as an opportunity that people were actually starting to say, hey, I'm willing to buy a brand online that was purely created for online retail, which even if you go back to 2010, it was kind of unheard of. I mean, there was Warby Parker down in the US was maybe one of the only few, but there weren't very many brands that were doing this, so at least at scale. Yeah, the whole idea of this was to try to kind of combine these forces together. And then also the other piece was to do this in Canada. In the US, a lot of times the companies like Target Corp is a really good example. They come to Canada, their product selection isn't as good, or their prices are too high, and then it doesn't end up working to the same degree. The Canadians get a lesser experience than what the US counterparts get.
Tell me, when did you start Endy?
Endy we started in 2015. We launched to the public March 2015.
Okay, super. Can you explain a little bit, give me a sense of how the business has grown since its inception?
Yeah, it evolved fairly quickly. The first year was a lot of experimentation and trying to get the model sorted of how to get ads and how to talk to our customers and what the sort of customer journey was. And then as we started to scale up, we saw that more and more people really loved the fact that it was made in Canada. So it was made in Canada, and the fact that we were focused on a Canadian-centric view, Canadian customers, and we saw it scale up pretty quickly. Or like when we kind of got to that 5-10 million mark, we were really excited, and then we got to the 20 million mark, and then it went to the 50 million mark. And so yeah, it just kept growing, and it was cool to watch that snowball continue to gain momentum as time's gone on.
Why do you think consumers have this concept has resonated with consumers?
It puts power back in the consumer. The fact that they're not, I think in the past with the wholesale retail model, which we have looked at ourselves, but the wholesale retail model, the issue is you've got a wholesaler and a retailer, and each one person needs margin. Also, in terms of what products were available, like traditionally in mattress retail stores, different products were in different stores. It was difficult to price match. I mean, you'd have the triple S or the Sealy Simmons, and each of them had sort of different models in each store. They kind of looked at it from the perspective of they were custom curating mattresses, but then at the same time, like what type of spring is the best spring, what type of foam is the best foam. A lot of that was obscure. And so for us, we said, let's just take the best materials we have and market it at a point that's fair to consumers. So yeah, it worked quite well and it resonated with people. It also, like with us having one mattress model, we still only have one mattress model. They know which one to buy. It doesn't create a lot of confusion in terms of which one to get. So that I think was a big thing that resonated. And then the Canadian brand was another big thing.
Okay. What are your plans for the company going forward?
Well, we sold to Sleep Country in 2018, and so from that point, it's a joint mission with us in Sleep Country. Our goal is to continue to expand. From a whole, it's about being the number one in terms of mattress retail, specialty retail, on all fronts, so retail and on the e-commerce side. But Endy as a brand itself is still focused on keeping that pole position as the number one online retailer. And we continue to see growth there. People are resonating, and more people are coming online. And one of the interesting trends is seeing way more baby boomers and suburbanites getting on and buying online over the last 3 months and use everything, which is quite interesting, because those are kind of the low users we found more often than not. But of course, there's always people in that segment that are super e-commerce oriented. But we found, if you've got a mattress store that's a 5-minute drive away, then why not, the impetus to buy online, we were seeing a lot of urban city dwellers originally, because of just the factor of actually getting to a store, and delivery in an apartment building was all difficult. So yeah, we're seeing the full spectrum of customers.
Do you think the COVID crisis, right? It obviously gave a lot of consumers the avenue of the e-commerce and online thing. More and more people this has become a habit for them to shop online. Is that going to help you, do you think, having more people and more different demographics now shopping online?
Yeah, absolutely. It'll benefit towards our model. Even, as we've added partnerships like Urban Barn, we've had mattresses in their stores, and we have it because there's still people who sometimes just want to try it and feel it and make that decision. So we've done that, and we found that it complements nicely, that people are literally going into the Urban Barns and they're buying online, and there's no problem with it. It works quite well.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a few questions about being an entrepreneur.
Sure.
What do you like about being an entrepreneur? What's some of the best things about it?
Yeah, I think when I think about this, a lot of times with entrepreneurship, people think that there's sometimes a specific skill set needed for it. And in some ways, it's one of the few professions where there's no skills really required other than the sort of ability. It's a personality trait, really, of being curious and driving forward and looking to change and do new things and push things forward.
Yeah.
So a lot of it you're doing based on like an industry like that in a box. There's no market report to say this is how direct-to-consumer online retail in Canada works. Like there's no manual for it. So you start out really with curiosity and excitement and move forward that way. Another thing sort of with entrepreneurship for me is that it's an action word as well. Personality trait, it's also an action word in that people who say, I'm an entrepreneur and whatnot, I think the best ones are the ones that are really moving forward and building and growing a business, because ideas are great, but I think the actual action and execution is what makes it move forward.
What do you think in terms of your personality traits are good for being an entrepreneur?
Well, I think you have to be comfortable with uncertainty. I think you have to be comfortable with, you have to be able to roll with the punches a bit. You have to like adventure to some degree and be excited by the unknown. I think if you're someone who really wants to be extremely organized and have everything go a certain way, like imperfectionism is a really important trait for entrepreneurs that want to scale quickly. Things just don't go perfectly how you want them to. And your consumer is not going to react. Your customer is not going to come and buy what you're selling. If you're trying to sort of say, oh, I want you to buy this particular model, you have to be flexible enough to say, what does the consumer actually want to buy, and to have that perspective, especially early on, and get a really strong feel for what they need. So having some flexibility in terms of your thinking is important. Being willing to pivot, like a lot of successful businesses. You've got, Airbnb started selling cereal and things, all those sort of stories that you hear, right, where to fundraise and you have to be able to have that mindset to get an early stage startup off the ground for sure.
Yeah, for sure. What has been your biggest challenge of being an entrepreneur?
I would actually say some of the challenges, like especially early stage, I really enjoy. I enjoy the scale up phase. I would say long term, it kind of becomes staying busy, right? Like as our business has grown, we have a staff of 50 odd people. Things have really moving. We have a lot of process. We turn into a big company. So there's a lot to do, but I'd say from an entrepreneurial perspective, staying busy and staying active and still continually finding projects to drive growth and things like that. So one of the things I've started doing is looking at angel investing and that sort of thing, and working with startups and helping to mentor. And I think that has been a great way to kind of get that entrepreneurial fix inside as my own company has gotten bigger.
Yeah.
So I think that I would say a challenge for me is just maintaining that and continuing to remain busy and moving forward on that sort of entrepreneurial venture. I think sometimes it's easy to say, oh, we've made it. Now let's sit back. What's the next big sort of place to push and the next thing to disrupt and continue forward on that, I think, is an important piece.
Yeah. So, when you look over the years of being an entrepreneur and being in business, do you recall any specific piece of advice, the best piece of advice that you received from someone on being an entrepreneur?
It was related to the action word piece. I studied business school. I went to Europe for a year, partly just because I wanted to move to Europe for a year, and had a Belgian guy who came in and was talking about entrepreneurship. And I said, I'd like some advice about starting your company. I think he had renewable power company, and he had some grants from the Belgian government. And I sort of said, so like, what's your advice to get a business going? And he said, I don't think I need to give you any advice. And I said, well, what do you mean? That, people in especially in Europe tend to be a little bit more direct as well. He's sort of like, no, I don't think I need to give you any advice. And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, if you need advice on how to be an entrepreneur, then that doesn't come across as someone who's entrepreneurial to me. And I said, well, how do you mean? And he kind of said, well, if you're an entrepreneur, you're just going to go and start selling something, and you're going to start building something, and you're not going to be asking for advice. And I said, well, actually, it's a good point. And so I took that one to heart, where I said, like, it's an action word, and it's something that you move forward, and surprisingly, it's not the person who's the smartest. A lot of times, it's the person with the most perseverance, and also having some flexibility within their plan to say, being willing to adjust and continue forward. Because a lot of times you're going to hit brick walls, especially if you haven't started a business before. You're like, hey, can you give me $1 million so I can start a online mattress company? People are like, oh, I don't know. Like, have you done this before? No. You gotta be able to persevere to be able to get through and be able to get that money raised. And even if you do have a small amount of capital, there's that perseverance of being lean and nimble and whatnot.
So in hindsight, if you weren't doing what you're doing now, what do you think you would have chosen as a profession or a career?
Well, I tried to do the professional thing. I definitely, I worked in Calgary for a little while in oil and gas. I think part of it was pursuing a passion, and I think the entrepreneurial ride for me is sort of, I think I would have ended up there pretty much regardless. Yeah, I can't see many other routes. There may have been, maybe if I would have gotten lucky and maybe it started with a company that was very entrepreneurial and gave a lot of flexibility, there may have been that possibility. Like, let's say I was early days in like a Shopify or something, I could have seen myself working in. And so I think it would have been team and fit. But what I found is after trying a number of different jobs and not quite getting what I wanted, that starting my own shop was the way to go, because I could kind of build it within the image I wanted to. I mean, I'm a big fan of collaboration. I'm a big fan of teams that work cross-functionally. I'm a big fan of people that sort of leave their egos at the door and work together. And so being able to build that environment with Endy has been great for me.
Okay, super. So, obviously you mentioned about, how busy you are, in the business, et cetera, especially now. What is it that you do to strike that work-life balance? What interests do you have outside of work?
Well, I did a big skiing trip this year. Definitely into that. So I'd like to come back and do that. Who knows what it'll be like this next winter, but hopefully get another trip in. Summer-wise, definitely enjoy sort of heading up in Ontario. They have the Muskoka region, and they have the cottage area, so lots of lakes and canoeing and all that kind of stuff. So definitely enjoy that. So the outdoors is a big thing. I would say that would be the main things. Lots of reading, enjoy reading for sure.
What kind of stuff?
These days I've been really interested in the economy just because of, what's going on out there.
Yeah.
So I've been reading a lot. One guy I really liked, read his book, Principles, Ray Dalio. I don't know if you've heard of that book, but
Uh-huh.
it's a cool one, especially he goes through a lot of different things and a lot of different pieces that made his hedge fund successful, but it really actually applies very well towards startups as well, especially where you need to take a lot of data. Like with us with e-commerce, you get so much data. You get clicks and you've got conversions and you've got streams coming from different websites and all of the rest of it. And how do you turn that into a cohesive story? And how do you build a culture around being objective as opposed to, you know, principles over personalities? And I think that's a big thing to drive towards success. Like your culture, ironically, becomes one of your most important assets in a company. And so Ray Dalio speaks to a lot of those elements that he built into his hedge fund that made it successful. So I enjoy looking at the sort of analogies of looking at different industries and different things, because we do get a lot of startup type stuff too, like the lean startup, and there's a lot of those type of books that are really based specifically around getting a startup going.
Yeah.
But I do like to hear from other sectors.
Okay, super. I'm going to present a little bit of a scenario to you, and I'll just get your response to it, okay?
Yep.
So we're going to take you and drop you off at a small tropical island, beautiful place in the middle of the ocean, right? That has nothing on it, no technology, no internet, nothing of that kind, except they'll have one phone booth there. You can pick up the phone and call us at any time to come and get you and bring you back home. So a couple of questions. How long do you think it would take you to make that phone call? And what do you think you'd be doing while you were there?
So the video just slightly cut out for a second. So in terms of the booth, I get to call one person on it?
You get to call us to bring you back.
Okay. Gotcha.
So how long would it take you to make that phone call, and just what kind of things do you think you would be doing on that island by yourself?
Well, I mean, I guess when I was in high school days, I did a lot of sort of the outdoor pursuits. It's harder to do in Ontario, like the mountaineering stuff, but
Oh yeah,
with the lack of mountains. But I really like the idea, like the building like a hut of sorts. Like definitely would be chopping. If I had no materials, I'd be looking for sort of dead leaves off of palm trees, and would be looking for some wood, some fallen wood, and would try to build a shelter,
yeah,
something down by the beach probably. And then probably next would be looking at food. How could I build some kind of a trap? Probably fishing would be the easiest, I assume. If you were on a desert, like I don't think I'm not very good at small game hunting or anything like that. I don't know if I could build a rabbit trap, but I probably could build a good spear and try to fish. That would be my thought. And then fire, sort of try to find a way to get a fire built. It would be hard without a lighter, but maybe look for some flint rock or something, maybe near a river inland or something, and then try
yeah.
to build a fire. If I could get that going, I'd be pretty happy. And I think if I failed at that, I would be calling to get picked up.
All righty. So, Mike, if before leaving us today, is there anything you'd like to add?
Well, one thing like just to mention is we've been really working on with hospitals right now in terms of donating, because the frontline workers that have to deal with COVID. I think for us, it's great that we all get to save the world by staying at home, and I think it's different people go through ups and downs, but I think the healthcare workers are putting their lives on the line to
Yeah.
help us all and deal with this. So just sort of a shout out there, and sort of we've been doing what we can to donate mattresses.
Okay, super. Thanks for joining us today, Mike, on Calgary's podcast.
Perfect. Thanks for having me.